I share with you my story? Would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming.
I was born into a deadly virus. No, it wasn't the time of MERS, Ebola, or even Osiris. It was a disease that kills, that colonizers pretend won't get you ill. They hope you reach for more of their deadly poison like alcohol and pills. This disease causes chills. You feel so cold, so bad, you can't ever get well. And the worst part is for my lifetime and yours, there's no vaccine or white science cure. Yeah, what ails me, what has made so many of my fellow po mamas and elders seriously sick is the fatal disease of greed, wealth hoarding, and capitalists. Yeah, I'm talking about the virus that sucks the blood and life out of all of us, that rips us from our natural ways of interdependence, patience, ancestors, and ancient life ways, that puts a price on Mama Earth, Mama Love, interdependence in our spirits and cultures known since birth. I'm talking about the most successful virus this 21st century has ever been lied to. I'm talking about survival of the fittest. You can't make enough money to survive or pay rent? Too bad. Violence called Krapitalism has a jail cell, shelter bed, or cardboard box for your unhoused mama or dad. The symptoms, the collateral damage, the intent are murderous and violent, called exploitation, false borders, scarcity, displacement. The profit makers wait for us to fail so they can scoop us up, kick us out our homes, our hoods, our love with their evil, blood-stained dollar trails. The banksters, real estate speculators, and developers lie in wait, laughing while they inject us with their poison, greed, and hate. So confusing us, we think hoarding means we got it made. Yeah, today's podcast from a poverty scholar is dedicated to all my fellow sufferers of the other killer virus, known as Krapitalism, and its most deadly symptom called poverty. Yeah, I was born into this virus to a colonized, destroyed mama who could barely raise me. So destroyed by the symptoms required to keep it going, so toe up from a lifetime of abuse, exploitation, and violent poverty. She could barely be my mama. She could barely keep up with the endless colonial drama. I wake up every day now as the streets get quieter and the people become more scared. I wake up oddly calm. There's nothing different for me under this colonial sun because of something called Covid19. Just try living through 22 evictions, lice, police, harassment, homelessness, and poverty. That terror in people's eyes, for me, has already become normalized. Try worrying every single day if you're going to have enough food, access to running and or clean water, whether your blankets are going to be wet, whether you will ever get warm, whether you will ever be anything close to safe. I'm not saying these things to make people guilty or feel strange. I'm only trying to note that for the first time, maybe ever in most people's lives, you get to know what it feels like to be a veteran in the ongoing violent war on the poor, to suffer from the other deadly disease called capitalism and its symptoms of anxiety, hunger, depression, and scarcity. There was not a day that I woke up not scared, tense, or freezing when me and Mama lived outside. And even then, when we would temporarily move inside, motel rooms, apartments we couldn't sustain, our cars that had no current registration, we had no claim. So unsafe lives would always be right around the corner. Then later, as an adult, houseless again with my son and now elder mama, evicted over a rent increase. Once again terrified of, would my son be safe? Would my mama be safe? Would she get sicker? Would we get access to food, proper health care, diapers, enough money to rent a motel for a night, to fix the car, to dry our blankets, to clean our clothes, and on and on. The list never ended. You already know. Every single fucking day we were scared whether we would have access to basic necessities like food and toilet paper. Every single day we were worried or terrified about an unseen, unknown aspect of poverty that would creep up on us. This virus. And actually what is exciting to me is that in this corona crisis, we are seeing massive moves made against the real virus of capitalism and its multiple symptoms of wealth hoarding, criminalization, incarceration, and homelessness, evictions, and displacement. Every day in this time, I wake up to see more cities putting moratoriums on evictions and foreclosures. Communities taking back homes and reversing inhuman politrickster decisions, interfering in the evil processes of buying and selling, extracting and drilling Mama Earth, which is an absolute sickness and always hurts. Evictions kill elders and permanently destabilize children. I've been screaming in this on Mama Earth. It is why Poor Magazine poverty scholars who have lived through this ongoing illness called Krapitalism proved eviction was elder and child abuse. You think anybody heard? Eviction for the first time in this stolen land history is being seen as the violent act of inhumanity that it is, fueled by people's fear of more contagious humans in public. Wow, it took that for real moves being made to prevent more poor and low-wage workers who can barely hold on by a thread, keeping up this lie called rent, just trying to stay in a bed. And while the violent capitalist in the white people's house is actually trying to make it harder for us poor folks to get our little scarcity model crumbs of food stamps by making work restrictions harder, which would leave literally 700,000 families unable to get our food crumbs, aka EBT. A judge blocked this anti-poor people ruling just the other day. And as well, we were seeing the demand of the end of sweeps of our unhoused bodies and towing of the cars we live in by advocates in some cities are actually listening. Shout out to Where Do We Go Berkeley in the city of Berkeley. As well, the beautiful compañeros and compañeras from L.A., following in the footsteps of Moms for Housing, just took over an intentionally hoarded house in L.A., and they are demanding that all hoarded and vacant homes, quote, owned by Caltrans, be given back to the people who they were stolen from, the people who need them most. Houseless and poor folks and elders on the street who don't have any homes. There are actual calls for no co-pays of health care and implementation of real healing care for all. Paid sick leave is being demanded, and in some cases, paid over these mass epidemics. These are moves that get at the real illness of scarcity and poverty. And then we have the extremely simple idea of people helping each other. Interdependence is what it's called. A direct challenge to the cult of independence that's shoved down our throats in capitalism from day one, so we can all be good consumers and live separately and consume more than we would ever need if we were living with families or in community. The way we live in at homefulness, can't you see? Collaborating, sharing, acting interdependently. It's funny to me as conscious people call something like this mutual aid. As a sixth grade poverty scholar dropout, I never heard that term. not even sure what it meant. But then I realized it's just interdependence, love, and concern. Something us poor, houseless, and formerly houseless folks activate every day at Poor Magazine and have since our inception. Revolutionary love work, we call it, taking care of what needs to be done for each other. Shout out to the Poor People's Army and the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign out of Philly. It's not a strategic plan or a grant guideline, just a knowledge shared among us po folks that if we don't take care of each other, some of us won't make it. Go ahead, knock on people's doors, ask how they are, ask if elders need something. This I'm hearing on the radio from middle class media. Because lest you think this virus called Krapitalism only impacts us poor folks, oh no, it's got us all disturbed. The fact that the simplest of caregiving moves has to be taught back to people, has to be suggested. The simple idea of checking on elders and folks who live next door to you. Only inspired by the Covid-19 virus. Wow. Means we are all so sick with the real virus called Krapitalism. It's why we poor and houseless and disabled and indigenous people at Poor Magazine have a 2-day seminar called the Degentrification Decolonization Seminar at People School, which we teach to folks with different forms of race and class privilege. People, like everyone here, who have been moved away from their basic humanity by Krapitalism and need to be brought back to our shared humanity as peoples. Graduates from the seminar have formed our Solidarity family at Poor Magazine and support Poor's Poverty Scholarship teachings of radical redistribution that we do every day, such as the Sliding Scale Cafe, Ruthless Radio, Po Mama's Reparations Fund, and the Bank of Community Reparations, trying to start homefullnesses in every town, helping to redistribute their stolen and hoarded wealth to scores of poor families. All ideas rooted in interdependence, nothing new. And then in this epidemic, we are suddenly made aware of not only the victims of Krapitalism, i.e. separated and left elders who aren't able to get out, disabled peoples who have always needed folk to help them, but the ableistic ways this Darwinian society moves in the first place. Even having to consider this society's natural tendencies to ableism, being called out for things people did without even thinking of them, being called out as the ableist moves they are, having to overstand and understand that all people aren't able to move the same way, and having to make accommodations for folks, well, they just never needed to think about. Don't get it twisted. I in no way am making light of this terrifying virus called Covid-19 that has killed people and caused increased anxiety and terror in millions. I am only noting that perhaps this virus is causing us to look at another more deadly virus, the ongoing virus of settler colonialism, of land theft, of Krapitalism that sadly won't end with a vaccine or an increase in hydration or washed hands. In the end, sadly, the COVID-19 virus will scare and terrify the folks who've lived comfortably within the violent killer called Krapitalism far too long. And so like poverty and colonial trauma, this moment will have a different kind of post-traumatic stress disorder. The fascists will become more fascist, the hoarders will hoard more, and the haters will hate more. And although there will be no magical cure of big pharma sweeping in with a special vaccine, which everyone will happily welcome in, there is no cure for Krapitalism except to move differently, to understand and overstand the violence of eviction, extraction, hoarding, and accumulation. And so my only hope is that for the first time in the lives of unconscious Krapitalists, because they have had to move in a not-so-self-centered, greed-filled way, that they have learned that they can Be a different way to move on Mama Earth that isn't about owning her or perpetrating more hurt.